Welcome back, everybody. Where we left off last time, we just got into space with our wonderful, stupid rocket here. So, now you're all wondering how we get into orbit from there. Well, luckily, this design right here got us halfway into an orbit. And what I mean by that is, I need the map view to show. So I'm just gonna put this on here like that, just so we can launch safely without it tipping over. What I'm gonna do is show you the essentially why we only got halfway into an orbit. I mean, it would seem that we got 3/4, 7/8 the way into an orbit because we already made it to space. But that's actually quite wrong because, to pull up the orbit map here, we came straight out right about here-ish at 75 kilometers. So we spent all the energy needed to get up here, but we had zero energy moving left or right, going in this direction. And at 75,000 meters, to get a stable orbit, you actually need to be moving at about 2,200 meters a second. So we have to carry another pack of fuel with us to make sure we can get that 2,200 meters a second once we get up into space. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring it back to the vehicle assembly building. And in here, we are going to look into adding thrust and everything necessary to save this section here to do the last bit of orbit adjustment. Now, I think our little stupid capsule at the top needs some stupid adjusting and upgrades. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in the, well, it doesn't need an inline stabilizer, that's for sure. But since this thing's going to be in orbit, we're going to want to make it so it can dock to things. So we're going to put the docking port on it if it wants to behave. It's not behaving at all. We'll take off the legs to make it behave. Since it's docking, we really don't even need landing legs. But what we will need is definitely a battery. Bigger battery than that. Just like that. And to recharge that battery and keep everything going the way it's supposed to, let's add, we'll just add some little solar panels, nothing crazy. Short, fat ones. Let's see here. Oop. Had to sneeze. My apologies. Alright. So, we got battery, solar power, and a docking node. Looks pretty good to me. Just about everything you would really need. And this right here is our final stage. Now, what I mentioned last time is 10,000 meters going up in a vertical ascent is your magic number to start turning to circularize your orbit. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing both the vertical and the horizontal movement at the same time as we go up, and I'll do my best to explain how that's all done. But so we have extra fuel and everything, what we can do is take the engine off there, come in over here, and we can add fuel tanks like this. I think two would be pretty good, just so that stays as efficient as it is. I mean, they only add half a ton each, and we had, if you remember, 120, 140 thrust to play around with. So, now that's there like that, what we can do is get some extra boost by using, we'll do two. Let's put two of these on here like that. And then, like that. Make sure they're actually on there properly. Now you can hold the Alt key to select the same part like that. Now, this doesn't look very stable to me, so what I'm going to do is just add struts. I'm going to put it up here on the central, then find a spot on the tank that looks nice and even for me, and bam, just like that. Now that looks like it's pretty good. I do want to add an inline stabilizer on this just to help us fly, keep everything stabilized and moving. Now, looks like my staging got all screwed up and wants to detach those before we even use them. So I'm going to add another stage down here and drag down those two rockets. Then they snap off. Then we go to our center main rocket, and then that detaches once we are in a quote-unquote stable orbit. And really, we don't even have to detach it if it still has fuel left in it. So it already says episode 3 orbit tutorial up there. Just click save. Make sure there's nothing else I really want to add, and launch. Do. Awesome loading screen is an awesome loading screen. Do. Oh, you guys get to slap me because I forgot the structural clamps, but it looks like we should be okay. Let me throttle up here. Alright, Jebediah. Let's make our watchers proud. Here we go. Looks like we got enough thrust just out of those two to be able to lift this whole thing. Remember, mass adds up and everything. So that's actually quite impressive. Those two engines by themselves were able to lift all that. And it gets lighter and lighter because you're using fuel from here. Now, to be completely honest, I have no idea if this is even going to make it up there. But it should. And you really don't want to go above 200 meters a second while you're below 10,000 meters. Because what will happen is, below 10,000 meters, your terminal velocity is 200 meters a second. So, trying to go any faster, you're just fighting all these drag forces and whatnot, and it doesn't really work out best for your fuel consumption. So I'm going to knock back my thrust here up until about 10,000 meters, and then I'm going to hang a right towards the 90. That'll give me an equilateral orbit, which is what we're always looking for. Very rarely will you need a polar orbit, or would you ever want to go in the opposite direction, because then you're just fighting the rotation of the planet, that sort of thing. So as you can see, I'm just kind of finding like 45 degree, that sort of thing on here. And I can even adjust for flight path and stuff like that from in here, so that's what I'm going to do. Now as you can see, we're only 27 up, and we're getting pretty close to fuel getting low down, so I'm going to see if I can't push that up to that magic 75 quick and in a hurry. See, we already got a lot of lateral movement compared to last time too with our turn that we just did at 10,000. Alright, we're almost there. I'm going to give it a little bit of extra because we're still in there, and we will slow down. As you can see, it's dropping. Click the little tag there so that stays up. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a spot here, maneuver, and this is prograde. This means make me go faster. So you take the direction you're already going in and going faster. So we're going to increase that until we get a periapsis. That's way too much. There we go. Oh, need to get that up higher. 75, good. So apparently we need to burn enough fuel to go another 1,252 meters a second. I don't know if we have enough fuel for that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up on my maneuver node here. What will happen is, as I rotate around the planet, that will move up to where I need to be. Bam, right where we want to be. And it looks like we should have enough fuel for this. Now, since I missed the maneuver node a little bit, because I went all happy joy on my friggin' time warp, I'm going to have to point up a little bit here to slide my apoapsis with me, because I don't want to be descending into the atmosphere as I'm doing this burn. Hopefully we have enough fuel for this, although it's not looking too likely. Oh, actually, way overshot it. Our periapsis is a little bit low here, so what we can do, look at this, you get to learn a little bit of orbital mechanics. So to increase your one side or the other of your orbit, so you want this side here to go up further away from the planet, you go to the opposite side. If I would stop being happy-go-lucky with the time warp. So we'll wait for it to come back around, but you go to the opposite side of the warp. Or, yeah, warp. Yeah, we're on warp. Star Trek. Yay! But you come over here to the opposite side, which is the apoapsis in this case, the high point of the orbit. And right there. And what you're going to do is that's backwards. You're going to find forwards, which is this one. And since we already have a stable orbit, we're just very lightly going to touch thrust on it and see it increase it to 76 already. Let's make it a nice 80. 80 is a good number. Now, you're probably wondering how you get the apoapsis down. Well, you do the exact opposite. Well, not exactly the exact opposite. Half of it is backwards. So, once again, you want to adjust this one, so you come over here to the bottom one, or the opposite side. Get to the opposite side. Okay, and now, if you look on the nav ball, the circle with the X through it, that means you're pointed backwards, and that's what we want to do to shrink the height of that. So we line up, we wait until we're pretty much there. Okay, now this is kind of backwards and everything, because what we're doing here is we're negating the fact that we already burned fuel to get that up that high. But that's okay. We just want it at 80. We don't need 200. And bam. Once the apoapsis and periapsis start to flip like that, that means you're pretty darn close to a perfectly circle orbit, and we got 80,900 meters and 79,900. That is amazingly close to a perfect circle when you think of the scale of things. And look at that. We just have barely enough fuel where I can ditch it for fun. Now, this is my favorite way of ditching rocket stuff. You get it rotating nice and good. You know what? That's not a good rotation. That won't make it deorbit. To make this thing deorbit, we want to go this way. And if you time it right, you can sling it right back into the planet. So I'm going to get going real good here, and going, and going, and going. And that should definitely launch that thing out there. Alright, so now to set up our guy here so he doesn't run out of power. He's a vibrating little bastard. But that's because these are too much just for it by itself. And if you look at the orbit map, nope, it's not going to show our debris. We don't get to watch the rocket fall. Oops, wrong button. I like to hit wrong buttons a lot. Hope you guys are prepared for that. Now to make, for the next episode, a little bit easier for when we dock onto this thing, we're going to make it so it's pointing exactly north right now. So that we can get to that docking port a little bit easier. And you know what? I like to dock from the bottom of things, so we're actually going to make it point south, which is 180. Okay, we're going to rotate that. That way we can get some sunlight while it's on that side of the planet. And there we go. Looks like we should be perfectly okay. We got this little ring guy here doing his ring thing. I can't switch to it, but it looks like it deorbited. That's pretty low down in the atmosphere. And this ring, I really don't think is going to deorbit anytime soon. No. It just doesn't come down low enough or anything. Well, it might. No. Alright, that's it for today, guys. Tomorrow we will definitely look into orbit mechanics and looking at how to transfer to other planets. Until then, it's been great.